Security footage from Riverside Women's Correctional Facility shows 3 distinct moments that would later become evidence. The first clip captures inmate Sophia Weber walking alone through the East Corridor on the morning of November 14, 2023. She moves slowly, keeping her eyes down. An officer passes without acknowledgement. The second clip, recorded 2 days earlier, shows Weber in the visitation room. Across from her sits a man identified as her husband, Marcus Weber. Their conversation appears tense. He leans forward, pointing his finger toward her face. She pulls back, shaking her head. A guard stationed nearby does not intervene. The third clip comes from the prison's intake area. It shows Weber arriving 6 weeks earlier, carrying a single plastic bag containing approved personal items. Her shoulders are hunched, her face is blank. She signs paperwork without reading it and follows an officer down the hallway without looking back. Before we continue with this case, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to hear from you. And do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. On September 28, 2023, in Portland, Oregon, 31-year-old Sophia Weber was sentenced to 18 months in Riverside Women's Correctional Facility for assault. The charge stemmed from an incident at her home 3 months earlier. Police responded to a domestic disturbance call and found Marcus Weber, 38, with lacerations on his arm. He told officers that Sophia attacked him with a kitchen knife during an argument. 2 neighbors reported hearing shouting and the sound of breaking glass. Sophia told police that Marcus had been drinking and became violent. She said she grabbed the knife to defend herself after he pushed her against the counter. She showed officers bruises on her wrists and a swollen cheek. The responding officers took photographs of both injuries and the scene. However, the prosecutor focused on the fact that Marcus required stitches, while Sophia's injuries were classified as minor. Her public defender advised her to accept a plea deal to avoid a longer sentence. She agreed, and the judge handed down 18 months with eligibility for early release after 12. Sophia and Marcus had been married for 4 years. They met through mutual friends and married quickly. Friends later described the relationship as intense from the beginning. Marcus worked in construction management and controlled the household finances. Sophia had worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental clinic, but quit 6 months before the incident. She later told a social worker that Marcus insisted she stay home. He said it would be better for their future plans, though they had no children. According to court records, Marcus had no prior criminal history. Sophia had 1 prior arrest for disorderly conduct 3 years earlier, which was dismissed. The case file included a statement from Sophia's sister, Claudia Meyer, who lived in Seattle. Claudia told investigators that Sophia had called her multiple times over the past year, describing arguments with Marcus that often turned physical. Claudia urged her to leave, but Sophia said she had nowhere to go and no money of her own. The week before the knife incident, Sophia sent Claudia a text message stating that she could not take it anymore and that something bad was going to happen. Claudia saved the message but did not report it to authorities at the time. During intake at Riverside, officers assigned Sophia to Block D, a medium security unit housing women convicted of non-violent offenses and first-time violent offenders. Her cellmate was Nina Hartman, 42, serving time for embezzlement. Nina later described Sophia as quiet and withdrawn. She rarely spoke during meals and avoided interactions with other inmates. Nina noticed that Sophia received mail regularly during her first 2 weeks, but stopped opening the letters after the 3rd week. When Nina asked if everything was all right, Sophia said the letters were from Marcus and that she did not want to read them anymore. One evening, Nina found Sophia sitting on her bunk, holding a letter that had been torn into pieces. Sophia told her that Marcus wrote that he was filing for divorce and that she would have nothing when she got out. He also wrote that she had ruined his life and that she deserved to be where she was. Visitation records show that Marcus visited Sophia on October 18th. The visit lasted 20 minutes. According to Nina, Sophia returned to the cell, visibly shaken. She did not speak for the rest of the evening. The next day, she told Nina that Marcus had threatened her during the visit. He said that if she tried to fight the divorce or ask for any of their shared property, he would make sure she never saw the outside again. Sophia asked Nina what that meant. Nina told her it sounded like an empty threat meant to scare her. But Sophia did not seem convinced. Over the following days, Sophia's behavior changed. She became more anxious, frequently checking over her shoulder during movements through the facility. She stopped going to the common area during recreation time and began skipping meals. Nina reported her concerns to a counselor, but no formal evaluation was conducted. The counselor noted in the file that Sophia was adjusting to incarceration and that mood changes were common during the first 60 days. On November 3rd, Nina observed an interaction that disturbed her. During evening count, Officer Gregor Neumann walked past their cell and stopped at the bars. He looked directly at Sophia and said her name twice. Sophia did not respond. Neumann told her that she had a reputation for causing problems and that she should be careful. Nina later said the comment made no sense because Sophia had not been involved in any incidents since her arrival. When Nina asked Neumann what he meant, he walked away without answering. That night, Sophia told Nina that she had seen Neumann talking to Marcus in the visitation room 2 weeks earlier. She said they appeared to know each other, though she could not hear what they were saying. Nina suggested that Sophia file a complaint, but Sophia refused. She said it would only make things worse. The following week, small incidents began to accumulate. Sophia's commissary account was frozen without explanation. When she asked staff to check the error, she was told that a hold had been placed on the account due to suspicious activity, though no details were provided. Her mail was delayed. Letters that normally took 3 days to arrive were taking over a week. During a routine cell search, officers removed several approved items from her belongings, claiming they violated facility rules, even though identical items remained in other cells. Nina protested, but the officer conducting the search ignored her. Sophia did not fight any of these actions. She told Nina that resisting would only draw more attention, but Nina could see that the pressure was affecting her. Sophia stopped sleeping through the night. She woke frequently, staring at the ceiling or pacing near the cell door. On November 10th, Sophia received another letter from Marcus. This one was brief. It contained only one sentence. "You should have listened when you had the chance." Sophia folded the letter and placed it under her mattress. She did not mention it to Nina until 3 days later, when Nina found her crying quietly after lights out. Sophia told her that she believed Marcus was doing something to make her life inside the facility unbearable. She said she felt like she was being watched and that officers were treating her differently than other inmates. Nina told her she was not imagining it. She had noticed the same things. On November 12th, Nina Hartman noticed a shift in the facility's routine that concerned her. During morning movement, Officer Gregor Neumann personally escorted Sophia Weber from Block D to the kitchen assignment area. This was unusual because kitchen escorts were typically handled by rotating staff, not specific officers. Nina watched from the corridor as Neumann walked close behind Sophia, speaking near her shoulder. Sophia kept her head down and did not respond. When she returned to the cell 2 hours later, Nina asked what Neumann had said. Sophia replied that he told her accidents happen in kitchens all the time, and that she should be more careful with sharp objects. Nina found the comment disturbing given Sophia's conviction. She encouraged Sophia to document everything and report it to administration. Sophia refused again, saying she did not trust anyone in the facility. That afternoon, Nina spoke quietly with Roxanne Lee, an inmate in the neighboring cell who had been at Riverside for 3 years. Roxanne worked in the library and had access to facility grievance records. Nina asked if there was a way to file an anonymous complaint about officer conduct. Roxanne explained that anonymous complaints were rarely investigated, and that naming an officer directly often resulted in retaliation. She told Nina that 2 years earlier, an inmate named Teresa Voss reported inappropriate behavior by a guard and was transferred to administrative segregation within a week on fabricated charges. The transfer remained in place until Teresa withdrew her complaint. Nina thanked Roxanne for the information, but did not mention Sophia by name. When she returned to the cell, she found Sophia sitting on her bunk staring at the wall. Nina sat down beside her and asked if there was anyone on the outside who could help. Sophia said her sister Claudia would try, but she had no power over what happened inside the prison. The next day brought another troubling development. During lunch, 2 inmates approached Sophia while she waited in line. One of them, identified later as Kelly Brooks, bumped into Sophia hard enough to make her drop her tray. The collision appeared deliberate. The second inmate, Yvonne Carter, stepped in front of Sophia, preventing her from picking up another tray. Officer Neumann stood less than 15 feet away but did not intervene. Sophia stepped back and left the cafeteria without eating. Nina followed her and asked what had just happened. Sophia said she had never spoken to either woman before and had no explanation for their behavior. Nina pressed further, asking if Sophia recognized them from anywhere. Sophia shook her head, but admitted that both women had been in the visitation room during Marcus's last visit. Nina suggested that Marcus might have arranged for inmates to target Sophia in exchange for money or favors sent to their outside contacts. Sophia agreed that it seemed possible, but had no way to prove it. Later that evening, Nina received an unexpected opportunity. An inmate named Iris Cohn, who worked in the facility's maintenance rotation, quietly approached Nina during recreation time. Iris explained that she had access to certain areas that were less monitored and that items occasionally moved through the facility beneath official notice. She asked Nina if she needed anything. Nina understood the implication. She asked Iris if a phone could be obtained. Iris said it was possible but expensive and risky. Nina told her it was urgent. Iris said she would see what she could do. 2 days later, on November 14th, Iris slipped a small prepaid phone into Nina's hand during a corridor pass. The device was old but functional. Nina hid it in a gap behind the sink pipe in their cell. She told Sophia about it that night. Sophia initially refused to use it, saying the risk was too high. Nina insisted that Sophia needed to contact her sister and create some kind of record in case something happened. At 2 in the morning, Nina kept watch near the cell door while Sophia crouched in the corner with the phone. She activated the camera and held it close to her face. The recording lasted less than 90 seconds. Sophia spoke quietly but clearly. She stated her name, her location, and the date. She explained that her husband, Marcus Weber, had visited her in prison and made threats. She said Officer Gregor Neumann appeared to be working with Marcus to create pressure inside the facility. She described the incidents with her commissary account, the delayed mail, the removed belongings, and the confrontation in the cafeteria. She said she believed Marcus was paying people to hurt her. She ended the recording by saying she did not think she could survive much longer if things continued this way. Her voice did not break, but her hands shook as she stopped the recording. She sent the file to Claudia's phone using a messaging application and immediately deleted the local copy. Nina took the phone and returned it to its hiding place. Neither of them spoke for the rest of the night. The next morning, Officer Neumann appeared at their cell with a transfer order. Sophia Weber was being reassigned to laundry duty, effective immediately. The laundry facility at Riverside Women's Correctional occupied the southeast corner of the compound. Industrial machines lined the walls in fixed rows. 2 cameras covered the entrance and folding stations, but the rear section near the storage closets remained outside their range. Officer Gregor Neumann escorted Sophia Weber through the east corridor on the morning of November 15th. Corridor footage shows him walking beside her, leaning close to speak. Sophia kept her eyes forward and gave no visible response. When they reached the laundry door, Neumann unlocked it, gestured for her to enter, and remained in the doorway for several seconds before stepping back into the hall. The assignment roster listed 3 inmates scheduled for that shift: Sophia Weber, Kelly Brooks, and Yvonne Carter. The same 2 women who had confronted Sophia in the cafeteria 2 days earlier. Nina Hartman learned of the assignment when she checked the posted work schedules during morning movement. She immediately recognized the names and felt a wave of alarm. She approached the duty officer and asked if there had been a mistake. The officer checked the computer and confirmed that the roster was correct. Nina asked if reassignments could be requested for safety reasons. The officer told her that inmates did not choose their work details and that questioning assignments could result in disciplinary action. Nina returned to Block D and waited. She considered using the hidden phone to contact Claudia Meyer directly, but decided against it. If the phone were discovered, both she and Sophia would face solitary confinement and extended sentences. She spent the rest of the morning pacing near the common area window, watching the clock. At 10:30, an emergency code sounded over the facility intercom. Medical personnel were dispatched to the laundry. Nina heard the announcement and felt her chest tighten. Other inmates gathered near the windows, trying to see what was happening. A lockdown was ordered within minutes. Officers moved through the blocks, directing everyone back to their cells. Nina complied, but kept asking what had happened. No one provided answers. She was locked in her cell alone because Sophia had not returned. 2 hours passed. Nina heard footsteps in the corridor and voices speaking in low tones. She called out, asking if anyone could tell her about Sophia Weber. An officer she did not recognize stopped at her cell and told her to be quiet. Nina asked again. The officer said there had been an incident in the laundry and that no further information was being released. Nina demanded to know if Sophia was alive. The officer walked away without responding. By late afternoon, word spread through the facility that an inmate had been found unresponsive in the laundry area. No name was given, but Nina knew. She sat on her bunk and stared at the wall. At 6 in the evening, a counselor arrived at her cell and confirmed that Sophia Weber had died. The counselor provided no details about how it happened. She asked Nina if she needed to speak with someone. Nina asked what had killed Sophia. The counselor said the circumstances were under review and that an internal investigation would be conducted. Nina told the counselor that Sophia had been targeted and that Officer Neumann and Marcus Weber were involved. The counselor wrote down Nina's statement and said it would be forwarded to the appropriate personnel. Nina did not believe her. She asked to speak to someone outside the facility. The counselor said that would not be possible at this time. She left, and Nina remained locked in her cell for the rest of the night. The initial incident report, later obtained by investigators, described Sophia's death as a possible accident involving industrial equipment. The attending nurse documented injuries inconsistent with machinery malfunction. Bruising around Sophia's neck suggested manual compression. Lacerations on her arms appeared defensive. The nurse noted these observations in her report, but was instructed by administrative staff to wait for the official investigation before discussing findings. Officer Neumann provided a brief statement claiming he had escorted Sophia to her assignment and returned to his post. He said he was notified of the emergency by another officer and responded immediately. He could not explain why Kelly Brooks and Yvonne Carter were not present when medical staff arrived. Surveillance footage showed both women leaving the laundry area 30 minutes before the emergency call was logged. Neither of them appeared on camera entering the East Corridor, which was the only approved exit route for inmates during work shifts. Outside the facility, Claudia Meyer received Sophia's video message at 7 in the morning on November 15th. She watched it twice, then immediately called the Riverside Administration Office. She was transferred to a voicemail system. She left a message stating that her sister had reported threats and feared for her safety. She requested an urgent welfare check. No one returned her call. At noon, she called again and reached a staff member who told her that all inmate matters were confidential and that families would be notified of any developments through official channels. Claudia insisted that her sister was in danger. The staff member repeated the same response and ended the call. 3 hours later, Claudia received a phone call from Riverside informing her that Sophia Weber had died in an incident at the facility. The caller provided no explanation. Claudia screamed into the phone, demanding to know what had happened. The caller said details would be released after an internal review. Claudia asked if anyone had listened to her earlier messages. The caller said there was no record of previous calls. Claudia hung up and immediately contacted a lawyer. The case was assigned to Lauren Vasquez, a Department of Corrections investigator based in Salem. Vasquez, 39, had spent 12 years reviewing institutional deaths and had developed a reputation for thoroughness. The referral reached her office on November 16th with minimal documentation. The incident report described a workplace accident under review. No camera footage was attached. No witness statements were included. Vasquez noted the absence of standard materials and flagged the case for immediate on-site inspection. She arrived at Riverside before noon. Her first action was to examine the laundry facility. The body had been removed, but the scene remained restricted. Vasquez observed scuff marks on the floor near the rear storage area, suggesting movement inconsistent with a fall. A rolling cart sat several feet from its designated position. She checked the industrial machines and found no malfunction logs or maintenance reports filed in the past 30 days. She requested footage from all facility cameras covering the previous 72 hours. She also asked for the full work roster, incident logs, and disciplinary records for Sophia Weber, Kelly Brooks, and Yvonne Carter. When staff hesitated, she reminded them that her authority superseded internal protocols during active death investigations. Vasquez reviewed the laundry entrance footage first. It showed Officer Gregor Neumann escorting Sophia Weber into the facility at 9:42 in the morning. Neumann leaned close to Sophia's ear while walking. The interaction lasted several seconds. Neumann then unlocked the door, let Sophia enter, and stepped back into the corridor. 20 minutes later, the same camera recorded Kelly Brooks and Yvonne Carter entering together, escorted by a different officer. At 10:18, both women exited through a side door not typically used for inmate movement. The exit was not logged. No footage showed Sophia leaving. Vasquez noted the gap and requested access to Neumann for questioning. Neumann arrived at the interview room with a rigid posture and minimal eye contact. Vasquez asked him to describe the events of November 15th in detail. He repeated the information from his written statement. He escorted Sophia to her assignment, returned to his post, and was notified of an emergency by radio. Vasquez asked why he walked so close to Sophia during the escort. Neumann said he was giving her instructions about laundry procedures. Vasquez asked what specific instructions he provided. Neumann paused, then said he reminded her to follow safety protocols. Vasquez asked why Brooks and Carter left the facility through an unauthorized exit. Neumann said he was not aware they had done so. Vasquez showed him the footage. He claimed the side door was sometimes used for efficiency, and that he had not been monitoring that area. Vasquez asked if he knew Marcus Weber. Neumann said he did not recognize the name. Vasquez ended the interview and marked his responses as inconsistent. Next, Vasquez spoke with the nurse who responded to the scene. The nurse described finding Sophia Weber lying on her side between two storage shelves. Bruising encircled her neck. Defensive wounds marked her forearms. The nurse stated clearly that the injuries did not match an equipment accident. She attempted resuscitation but found no pulse. Vasquez asked if anyone else was present when she arrived. The nurse said Officer Neumann and 2 other guards were standing near the entrance, but that no inmates remained in the area. Vasquez asked if the nurse had filed her observations in an official report. The nurse confirmed she had, but added that a supervisor later instructed her to wait for investigative findings before discussing details with anyone outside the administration. Vasquez then requested access to Nina Hartman. Nina was brought to a private room and immediately asked if Vasquez was investigating Sophia's death. Vasquez confirmed that she was. Nina provided a detailed account covering the past 6 weeks. She described Marcus Weber's threatening visit, Officer Neumann's strange behavior, the frozen commissary account, the delayed mail, the cafeteria confrontation, and Sophia's video recording. Vasquez asked if Nina still had access to the phone. Nina said she did. Vasquez instructed her to retrieve it carefully and turn it over as evidence. Nina agreed but expressed concern about retaliation. Vasquez assured her that witness protection protocols would be implemented immediately and that Nina would be transferred to a different facility within 48 hours. Vasquez returned to her office and began building a timeline. She requested financial records for Officer Gregor Neumann, visitor logs for Marcus Weber, and phone records for both men. She also contacted Claudia Meyer, who forwarded Sophia's video message. Vasquez watched the recording 3 times. Sophia's statement was clear, calm, and detailed. It named Marcus Weber and Gregor Neumann specifically. It described a pattern of targeted harassment. The timestamp placed the recording less than 12 hours before Sophia's death. Vasquez saved the file and submitted a request for expanded investigative authority, citing probable cause for conspiracy and misconduct resulting in death. Financial records for Officer Gregor Newman revealed irregularities that supported investigator Lauren Vasquez's suspicions. His primary bank account showed 3 cash deposits over the past 6 weeks, each between $800 and $1,200. The deposits did not align with his salary or documented overtime. Vasquez cross-referenced the dates with facility visitor logs. Each deposit occurred within 72 hours of a visit from Marcus Weber. On October 20th, 2 days after Marcus visited Sophia, Neumann deposited $900. On November 1st, following another visit, he deposited $1,100. On November 13th, 1 day before Sophia's transfer to laundry duty, he deposited $850. The pattern was clear. Vasquez requested phone records next. The log showed 7 calls between Neumann's personal cell phone and a number registered to Marcus Weber. The calls began 3 weeks after Sophia's incarceration and continued until November 14th. The final call lasted 4 minutes and occurred at 8 in the evening, roughly 10 hours before Sophia's death. Vasquez noted the timing and submitted a warrant request for Marcus Weber's arrest. The district attorney approved it within hours, citing sufficient probable cause for conspiracy to commit murder and bribery of a public official. On November 18th, detectives arrested Marcus Weber at a construction site in northeast Portland. He was read his rights and transported to the county jail. During initial questioning, he denied knowing Officer Neumann and claimed he had only visited his wife twice since her incarceration. When detectives presented phone records showing multiple calls, Marcus changed his story. He said Neumann had contacted him first, offering to keep Sophia safe in exchange for payments. He insisted he never asked Neumann to hurt her. Detectives asked why he continued making payments if his intention was protection. Marcus did not answer. The interrogation was suspended, and Marcus was held without bail pending further investigation. Vasquez turned her attention to Kelly Brooks and Yvonne Carter. Both women were removed from general population and placed in separate interview rooms. Brooks was questioned first. She denied any involvement in Sophia's death and claimed she left the laundry early because she felt sick. Vasquez presented her with footage showing her exiting through an unauthorized door with Carter. Brooks said she did not remember using that exit. Vasquez asked if she knew Marcus Weber. Brooks hesitated, then said she had never met him. Vasquez informed her that visitor logs showed Marcus speaking briefly with both her and Carter during his November visit. Brooks requested a lawyer, and the interview ended. Yvonne Carter proved more cooperative after learning that Brooks had already been questioned. Vasquez explained that the evidence pointed toward a coordinated attack, and that whoever provided information first would receive consideration during sentencing. Carter asked what kind of consideration. Vasquez said it depended on the quality and honesty of her statement. Carter sat quietly for several minutes, then began speaking. She admitted that Officer Neumann approached her 3 days before Sophia's death. He told her that an inmate named Sophia Weber would be reassigned to laundry duty, and that Carter needed to make sure Weber did not finish her shift. Neumann promised to reduce Carter's remaining sentence and arrange for money to be sent to her mother if she cooperated. He said another inmate, Kelly Brooks, would assist. Carter described what happened in the laundry. Brooks blocked the rear exit while Carter grabbed Sophia from behind. Sophia fought back, scratching Carter's arms and trying to scream. Brooks wrapped a towel around Sophia's neck and pulled tight. Carter held Sophia's arms down. The struggle lasted several minutes. When Sophia stopped moving, they released her and left through the side door as Neumann had instructed. Carter said Neumann told them the cameras in that section did not work and that no one would be able to prove what happened. Vasquez recorded every word. She asked Carter if Marcus Weber's name was ever mentioned. Carter said Neumann told them the order came from outside but never said who. She also said Neumann gave them each $200 in cash the day before the incident. Vasquez asked where the money was now. Carter said she hid it in her cell behind a loose tile. Vasquez arranged for the cell to be searched immediately. Officers recovered the cash along with a handwritten note from Neumann containing instructions about timing and exit routes. The note was bagged as evidence. With Carter's confession secured, Vasquez returned to confront Brooks. She informed Brooks that Carter had provided a full statement implicating both of them. Brooks remained silent for nearly an hour before requesting to speak without her attorney present. She confirmed Carter's account and added that Neumann had threatened her when she initially refused. He told her that if she did not help, he would plant contraband in her cell and extend her sentence by years. Brooks said she felt she had no choice. Vasquez asked if Brooks understood that Sophia Weber was a victim being targeted by her own husband. Brooks looked down and said she did not think about it that way at the time. She only thought about getting out sooner. Officer Gregor Neumann was arrested at Riverside Women's Correctional Facility on November 20th. He was escorted from the premises in handcuffs while other staff watched in silence. During his initial interrogation, Neumann refused to speak and requested legal representation. His attorney advised him to remain silent. Investigator Lauren Vasquez presented him with the full scope of evidence: financial records, phone logs, witness statements from Carter and Brooks, the recovered cash, the handwritten note, and Sophia Weber's video recording. Neumann's attorney reviewed the materials and requested a private consultation. 2 hours later, they returned with a proffer agreement proposal. In exchange for reduced charges, Neumann provided a detailed confession. He admitted that Marcus Weber contacted him 6 weeks into Sophia's incarceration. Marcus explained that he wanted his wife to suffer for ruining his reputation and costing him money in legal fees. He offered Neumann $2,000 to make Sophia's time in prison as difficult as possible. Neumann accepted. He began with small actions: freezing her commissary account, delaying her mail, removing items during cell searches. When Marcus grew impatient and increased the payment, Neumann escalated. He arranged for Brooks and Carter to confront Sophia in the cafeteria. When Marcus called on November 13th and said he wanted Sophia gone permanently, Neumann coordinated the laundry assignment. He instructed Brooks and Carter on what to do, provided them with cash payments, and ensured the cameras in the rear section would not capture the attack. He confirmed that he adjusted one camera manually the day before. Neumann stated he did not physically harm Sophia himself, but admitted he created the conditions that led directly to her death. The case went to trial in March 2024. Prosecutors charged Marcus Weber with conspiracy to commit murder, witness tampering, and bribery. Gregor Neumann faced murder conspiracy charges, official misconduct, and civil rights violations. Kelly Brooks and Yvonne Carter accepted plea agreements in exchange for testimony. Both received extended sentences but avoided life terms. During the trial, Claudia Meyer testified about her sister's final message and her repeated attempts to alert facility staff. Nina Hartman testified about the pattern of harassment Sophia endured. The prosecution presented phone records, financial evidence, and the video Sophia recorded 2 days before her death. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Marcus Weber was convicted on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 30 years without possibility of parole, citing the calculated nature of the conspiracy and his abuse of his position as Sophia's husband to orchestrate violence against her while she was incarcerated and unable to defend herself. Gregor Neumann received 25 years for his role, with additional penalties for violating his oath as a corrections officer. The judge stated that Neumann had betrayed the trust placed in him and weaponized his authority to facilitate murder. Brooks and Carter each received 12-year sentences on top of their existing terms. Following the convictions, Sophia Weber's original assault case was reviewed by the Oregon Innocence Project. Attorneys examined police reports, photographs, and witness statements. They noted that Sophia's injuries were consistent with defensive actions rather than aggression. They also discovered that Marcus had a documented history of anger issues and had been terminated from a previous job for threatening a coworker. The review board concluded that Sophia likely acted in self-defense and that her conviction had been unjust. Her record was formally expunged 6 months after the trial concluded. Claudia Meyer filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Riverside Women's Correctional Facility and the Oregon Department of Corrections. The case was settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. As part of the settlement, the facility agreed to implement new oversight protocols, including independent review of all inmate complaints involving staff, mandatory body cameras for officers during inmate escorts, and a direct hotline for families to report safety concerns. Nina Hartman was transferred to a minimum security facility and granted early release for her cooperation. She later spoke publicly about the need for stronger protections for incarcerated women. Sophia Weber was buried in a small ceremony in Seattle. Claudia placed a photograph of Sophia holding her nephew at the service. In her eulogy, she said that her sister had spent years trying to escape a dangerous man, and that the system meant to protect her had failed at every level. She said Sophia deserved to be remembered not as a convicted criminal, but as someone who fought to survive until she no longer could. The cemetery was quiet. A dozen people attended. It rained,